So data governance is a set of regulations and rules that tries to control and help in order to enhance the ecosystem around big data. We have always have data, the traditional and conventional data collected by government. But with the revolution in technology, especially ability to analyze and collect massive data, this capacity adds a lot of potentials. With every time we work, whatever we do, that actually, they are data, and that goes somewhere. It can be analyzed for many things, to improve our lives, but it could also be to invade our privacy. So when we see this emerging trend, there's potential on one hand, and there are risks on the other hand. How do we match these two? How do we ensure that we maximize the opportunities and we limit the risk? That's actually the focal point of data governance. Data governance trying to ensure that we manage this development. We manage this economic transition. We manage it for our good, not for our destruction. And that's quite crucial. In the Nigerian experience, what we are seeing is government suspending operation of a data aggregator, right? And the question one asks is it part of the objective of the broader goals of data governance? Like I mentioned, the objective of data governance that we advocate for, or that we enter into the conversation, it's around data is good. How do we ensure it works for humanity? It works for human progress. In the case of this ban, it doesn't actually satisfy those kind of minimal rules, because we see a lot of livelihoods, freedom of information, that this has been affected. But what do we gain in return? As a nation, as people, we don't gain anything. I mean, we've shut out ourselves from the global discussion. This is a place where it has the potential to make or make anyone. You could see a lot of people, a lot of talent that has been discovered through Twitter. We could see a lot of entrepreneurs that actually rely on this to reach out to a larger number of people, not just within Nigeria, outside of the world. For some people, like us in the academia, we actually use the data as a source of information, because when you follow thought leaders in your field, you'll be able to know what is going on, what is the contemporary issues, such that the gap between the developed countries and the developing countries are being bridged using this kind of innovation in the information world. But with such a ban, I mean, we have not progressed in that. And that's why data, it's a form of data. I mean, when you restrict internet, when you suspend this, it's a form of data governance. But in a way, it's kind of destructive form of data governance. There are also positive ones. For example, ensuring that we regulate speeches online, such that speeches that have the potential to cause disruption are limited or are clear off the internet. Those are kind of positive things that we should advocate for. Those are kind of things we want to see. We don't want to a situation whereby this technology becomes like a signboard for racism, for violence, for xenophobic attacks and the rest. So we need to actually ensure that those space is safe. At the other time, we need to ensure that we use it to develop ourselves. For example, for a country like Nigeria, whereby a lot of businesses are informal, those are kind of opportunity whereby we can formalize it, because opportunity of entering the market through the internet also is a potential for government to actually formalize these industries. So how do we embrace the two? Embracing the two is about setting a clear rules. And Nigerian government setting these rules because of some airplanes is not maybe the right way, because we need larger discussion. Even when we think what should be the limit, what should be the maximum or minimum in terms of what these platform operators could do, we need to set a clear guidelines. And that guidelines needs to be emphasizing that we are developing the digital ecosystem, but we are also weeding out the negative part of it. And if that consensus is actually emerged, that will be something positive. And that's kind of discussion we want to be having, not about restricting freedom, constraining civil space, and destroying digital entrepreneurs that are emerging in Nigeria. So the discussion around data governance is a global issue. The tragedy is that it has actually been dominated by the developed countries. So you see different or three broad modalities of data governance. One from the Chinese hand, which is enclosed. And the European Union, they have another model of data governance, which emphasizes on privacy and data protection of citizens. In the US, their system is more lax, allowing freedom and limited kind of constraint on these platforms. Now, they set the rules. They provide all the softwares, they provide all the hardwares that comes into this conversation, and they are setting rules. And like I said, the rules around data governance is about how to develop, how to ensure that you capture gains, how to ensure that you use it for economic transformation. If Africa is not part of the conversation, there is a problem. Because we have to obey the rules, and when we obey the rule might not be the best for our system. The rule might not be able to help us develop our ecosystem. The rules might not help us to curb even violence, or to use it effectively for social cohesion, and to demand transparency and accountability from government. So for that reason, we need to enter into the conversation. But then the question is, are we going to enter at the country level or at the regional level? At the country level, it means each country setting its own rules. But we have to recognize that these three partners I mentioned, United States, European Union, and China, are the biggest partner and friends to Africa. And so we are left in that dilemma of which to follow in terms of different rules that I imagine. So it's important to ask the question, individually as a country, how much can we do? We don't control this ecosystem. We don't have that capacity to actually even demand some form of concession from them, because given the small size of our economy, and sometimes most African countries, they have small population, the ability and capacity to negotiate, I mean, there is this power asymmetry, because these are organizations with resources more than GDP of many African countries. And how do you negotiate with them? Also, the attraction of African market might be a challenge, because digital development is still low, just growing. And for that reason, most of them are not monetizing or cannot actually gain a lot of revenue from Africa. So the question is, when we want to then negotiate or go into the center, to the table for discussion, there is this power asymmetry. And the only solution for African countries is actually to come together as a unit, a regional kind of approach to data governance development. If we can do this, it will enhance a lot of aspects of our development. But the regional data governance development is more crucial in light of the ongoing development in Africa around the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. If you look at the agreement itself, the agreement talks about unifying African countries in order to ensure we improve intra-African trade. How do we ensure this? Without infrastructure. And the most important infrastructure for trade in today's world is ICT, is e-commerce, right? And that's quite crucial. We need to actually get it right on that. Also, when you look at African Continental Free Trade Agreement, in terms of its operational modalities, it emphasizes on digital platforms. I mean, your ability to network with others, rules of origins, a platform where you can dispute negotiation and the rest. Every of these things revolve around effectiveness of African digital space. And for that reason, we need to start investing in digital space. But more importantly, we need to start making rules that would ensure we develop that space, that will ensure that we better protect that space. Cybercrime is an issue, right? Invasion of privacy is an issue. What about leaking information to cause economic damage to organizations? We are seeing this problem of hacking into enterprises' website and holding them ransom. We have seen it in the most developed country. So what does this tell us? Is a signal that we need more coherent approach in our conversation, in our relationship on data governance. And for this reason, that would even give us a lot of leverage in negotiating with these platforms. And my submission is, what countries at different levels are doing is great. But what is crucial is how do we ensure we work with one another? We speak with one voice. It's quite crucial, and it's quite, it's simply in the right direction for Africa and for us to get a table at the global discussion around what kind of laws do we need for data governance space.